cheat. This won't be an encore.
Won't be an encore. She cheated.
I guess it looks like the apple falls far from the tree because betraying my own mom, that couldn't be me.
BK, this ain't no BK, have it your way. This is Hollywood's day, and I don't play. And after I catch you in this hitch and ditch, oh, everyone's finna find out you're a real...
You know, and we all have our 15 minutes of fame, and I'd like to take a couple of my 15 minutes to talk about the rights and the wrongs in the world of professional wrestling.
WWE Championship.
This match is for the ECW World Heavyweight Championship.
The World Heavyweight Championship.
The match and new NWA Heavyweight Champion.
We appreciate you guys coming out and taking your time to support women's wrestling in America.
This match is for the AWA World Heavyweight Wrestling Championship.
Welcome once again to another edition of the Rights and Wrongs Pro Wrestling Podcast. This is your host, Mr. Green. Thank you for tuning in, downloading, listening to this on YouTube or wherever platform you happen to be. Might even be on our website, WPMWrestling.com, by the way. And we walk into another week with another set of questions and maybe some answers. There's a lot of little things that I found to be going on in the world of wrestling. Just as an update, as of we're recording this, we're coming out of the holiday season. Happy holidays to you, by the way. Hopefully you brought in the new year well. You brought it in safe. And we are continuing to go on with our pro wrestling content. In this case, WOW, Women of Wrestling, and a couple other women's wrestling things in between. So there's a lot of that's going on. But as I just said, there's a lot of little tidbits and notes and things like that exist on some other all-female wrestling platforms. So what we are going to do is address as many of these as we can. I don't think I can go into all of it, but we can cut it in between a couple of shows, and maybe that will get us all back up to speed. I wasn't expecting to come across a good chunk of women's wrestling information before I did this show, but you know, hey, it is what it is, and we will make the best of it as we always do. So let us proceed and do what we do in these shows, and that means it is time for the news, views, and updates. So, ladies and gentlemen, news, views, and updates. I don't want to be somber, but I guess we have to start off with information that has just come across to me not all that long ago. If what was reported here is correct, and I shouldn't say reported, it was more or less just shared information on the Reddit page, which largely consists of WOW content. And it lists that Jesse Jones is dealing with cancer. That particular article, or post, I should say, links to her Instagram on WOW Jesse Jones, WOW_Jesse Jones. And her post there is last party, last big hurrah before surgery and chemo. If you're in Lexington, Kentucky, come out and hang with this superhero. Hashtag fuck cancer. Well, I'm certainly with her on that. If you're like me or like most people in the world, if you don't know someone personally or you haven't dealt with it yourself or family member, friend, there's very likely somebody that has crossed your path that has had that. I certainly have. Going back to when I was maybe 13 the first time that I unfortunately knew somebody that had developed cancer. And, that was a rough road. So there's always, some sympathy that you have to, genuine concern, sympathy, love, whatever, however you want to put it. So that being the case, I just want to publicly say, all good luck, fortune, positive vibes, etc. towards Jessie Jones and what she is dealing with at this particular moment. And hopefully, hopefully it's not as big of an issue as it could create itself to be. I don't know, this is very loose information that was put up there, so I don't want to make it bigger than what it is, because for all I know, it could be that they found it early, and if that's the case, then great. If they found whatever it is that has keyed itself off as such early to where it could be addressed and dealt with, then good. I do not want to assume that it's whatever level or whatever stage it might be. So we would just leave it to say, if you haven't addressed her, maybe drop by her Instagram, send her some positive vibes, leave a comment, wish her good luck. And like I said, publicly, I will say it right here on the podcast. Good luck, Jessie. I have had the opportunity to interact, meet with, speak to her at some point in time. I mean, never at super great length, but we have crossed paths. And in the time that she's done that, she's always been, pretty nice to me. I don't have anything to complain about there. So absolutely. And even if I did, you're certainly not going to wish the worst on somebody in a situation like this. So good luck. I just wanted to take a moment before I go any further in any wrestling news and just say that. So now moving on. Did Jordynne Grace get written off of TNA television? That is my question right now, because it appears that if they ever wanted to just walk her off of TV at this point, this seems to be a very open door to do so. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, the most recent episode of TNA Wrestling saw Jordynne Grace teaming up with Spitfire, the Knockout Tag Team Champions, and teaming up with Masha Slamovich, the Knockout Champion, in an 8-woman tag match, which saw those individuals facing off against Tasha Steelz, Rosemary, and Ash and Heather by Elegance. I didn't know that she had a partner that she was teamed up with who was also by Elegance. But they all had a match, and of course the babyfaces went over. The interesting part takes place afterwards. Now, there is going to be a little bit of suspension of disbelief here, because it's one of the things that I kind of dislike in wrestling. It happens sometimes because, to do this, your timing has got to be like immaculate. Like all parties involved have to be on the same page. But it's the old somebody comes in and attacks in the middle of a group of baby faces, and everybody just stands around like, what would he do? What's happening? How do we react here? And that was the case here. And just for clarification's sake, I want to also say that it's not just them. I mean, people who are veterans and been doing it for a long time have managed to do this same thing. The one that I really point to is when Raven popped in after Jeff Jarrett's successful defense in a ring full of baby faces. He comes in, jumps him, takes the title, DDTs. Jeff walks out, and none of it, like 5 or 6 guys that stood around and watched him do it. And that's what this was. Tessa just ran into the ring as they were all facing the hard camera, all the baby faces. And she just begins attacking Jordynne Grace. Now, as this is happening, Slamovich, the team of Spitfire, Luna, and Threat are like kind of watching, looking like, what do we do? And then the heels from the floor get up and they attack the baby faces and give them a reason not to be able to do something. but it took a little while for that to happen. So during this, Spitfire gets attacked by Ash and Heather by Elegance. Rosemary blows mist inside of Slamovich's face, which I'm sure that means that they probably will cross back again. But as that is going on, Blanchard is beating up Jordynne Grace and basically beating up right out of center stage. So she takes her backstage, beats her up more, gets Jordynne Grace's bag, or at least what I would assume to be her bag, as they're backstage and she's being walked through. Blanchard slams a door on her head. Now she gets the bag after that. Takes the bag and wraps it around Grace's throat. There by the loading docks, or the loading doors. Blanchard drags Grace by the throat and her bag down the ramp towards the loading bay as she's beating her up, and then essentially just throws her out of the building, like, get out. You know, this is my locker room now, and I'm reclaiming it. You know, all the good stuff that she says, like, you know, I made this division. This time I remind them, blah, 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 blah. But that's not the important part. The important part is that she told her, get out. You know, and closed the door on her as she did it. Puts her out by the loading ramp, gives her heel speech, walks back in, closed the loading doors, like wipes her hands, dusts her feet, and then walks back into the building. This seems very much like this might be Jordynne Grace's exit out of TNA Wrestling. And I mean, I'm not mad at it. If those things happen, you know, the old let's write you off of television, because it will still leave room for Grace to pop back in and have her match with Blanchard if that's necessary. But if this is the end, I can certainly see that it would be plausible from this point. It would be very easy to move her on at this stage. Like, okay, she just got booted out, and Blanchard is trying to reestablish herself in the locker room. So she went after the biggest dog in the yard, so to speak. Not after the champion. She went after Jordynne Grace, who was the lead knockout for the better portion of, a year plus. And now it's Slamovich. So we know that the target is going to be set on her at some point. This is very reminiscent of Bobby Heenan on his last time on Monday Night Raw. I mean, and I'm talking, this is way back to infancy of Raw when that happened. When Monsoon kicks him out of the building and closes the door behind him, and the camera's on Bobby Heenan, and he's trying to get his stuff, and it's like, my belongings. And no one lets him in. They won't let him on the bus. He can't get back in the building. He looks at the camera, gives it like a so long salute, lifts his collar, and then walks off into the dark. That's all this reminded me of. And I'm not saying that as a bad thing, but it reminded me every bit of that, because at the time, when I saw that way back in the day, I didn't know that was Bobby Heenan's exit. I figured, oh, well, he has to pop back in a couple of months from now or something. Did not cross my mind that was going to be his farewell. And it could very well be that here. We leave your room open for you to come back, but we also have closed the door on you, and, off you go. So time will tell. My eyes are open to see what is going on with Jordynne Grace in her future, but I fully expect for her to show up at WWE or at least NXT at some point. Okay. So before I get to, I guess, my big, I wouldn't say big news, I want to go over what was reported as the 2024 Women Wrestling Statistics Wrap-Up. This is brought to you by divadirt.com. You can go there at diva-dirt.com. And this apparently was written by writer Colby Applegate. Let's give credit where credit is due. He apparently has taken the time to write out the stats of women's wrestling across the major promotions. And let's just go ahead and say it right now. No, WOW is not listed amongst this. Sorry, it's not. They still suffer from the same thing that they've always suffered from. No one wants to take that seriously. But anyway, let me read his post on X. Kobe writes, 2024 Women's Wrestling Stats thread. I may not put together full books these days, but that won't stop me from celebrating the accomplishments of many women here in North America. These mostly will pertain to titles, main events, and pay-per-view matches across WWE, AEW, TNA, and Ring of Honor. So, he has it broken up into categories and persons and what those things happen to be, and I will go down that one category at a time right now. So here you are. The first category he has is number of women main event matches. On Raw, you have 8. SmackDown, you have 6. NXT, you have 12 plus 5 in-ring promos. PLEs, the former pay-per-views, twice. That being the Elimination Chamber and Deadline. Now, I will say this in relation to WOW. WOW would not qualify in this because every week is a women's main event. So it's not like they would exist in that environment anyway. So we move on. Talent with most televised main event appearances. Nia Jax is leading the pack at 8. Liv Morgan follows that with 5. Bianca Belair with 4. Roxanne Perez with 5 in NXT. Fallon Henry ties that with 5 in NXT. Kalani Jordan at 4 and Julia also with 4 for NXT. Next, WWE and NXT PLE appearances. Bianca Belair at 9. Liv Morgan with 8. Jade Cargill, 7. Bayley also at 7. Nia Jax also at 7. Roxanne Perez, 6 appearances. Kalani Jordan, 5. And Lola Vice at 4. Naomi and Tiffany Stratton competed in Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber, Money in the Bank, and War Games. Next category he has is WWE/NXT Championship defenses. The WWE Women's Tag Team titles were defended more in 2024 than any other title in WWE at 21. Other women's title defenses outside of the Tag Team Championships. The WWE Women's title was defended 9 times. The WWE Women's World title was defended 10. The WWE United States title 1. That just went up, so understandable. NXT Women's title 13 times. The NXT Women's North American title 9 times. The Women's Speed title once. Also relatively new, so understand it. Now that was all the WWE/NXT stuff. We move on to AEW. Number of AEW women main event matches. AEW Dynamite had 3 women's main events. AEW Collision also had 3 women's main events. AEW Rampage had 10 women's main events. Battle of the Belts, 10 in April. And what was this? 12. Battle of the Belts 12 in October were also headlined by women's main events. AEW talent with most televised main event appearances. Willow Nightingale with 8 appearances. Mariah May with 5. Anna Jay with 4. Chris Statlander, Sky Blue, and Serena Deeb all tied with 3. Athena for Ring of Honor, 7 appearances. Diamante with Ring of Honor, 3 appearances. AEW pay-per-view appearances. We start off again, Willow Nightingale at 7 appearances. Chris Statlander, Mercedes Moné, and Toni Storm at 6 appearances. The AEW Ring of Honor Championship defenses. AEW Women's World title defended 13 times. AEW TBS title defended 19 times. Ring of Honor World title, Women's World title, defended 6 times. And the Ring of Honor Women's World television title, defended 5. And then we move on to TNA. The number of main event matches featuring knockouts. They still refer to their women's division as knockouts. They never got out of that. But that was 6 times. Talent with the most televised main event appearances. It is a 3-way tie between Jordynne Grace, Masha Slamovich, and Tasha Steele with 3 apiece. TNA pay-per-view appearances. Jordynne Grace leads that pack with 12 appearances. Masha Slamovich follows her with 11. The team of Spitfire, Jody Threat and Danny Luna at 8. And Tasha Steele and Rosemary tie it at 6. TNA Championship defenses. The TNA Knockout World, and I guess I should be clear to say that he is only talking about the defenses that took place on their television. The TNA Knockouts Championship actually was defended more than that, because we know that we saw it outside of TNA at least on 3 or 4 different occasions. So back to the topic at hand, the number of defenses. The TNA Knockouts World title was defended 21 times. TNA Knockouts World Tag Team titles defended 10. So there we have it. That, at least that is the breakdown as presented by Mr. Colby Applegate, Diva Dirt writer. So he has all credit to that particular listing and its stats. Viva Van has signed with All Elite Wrestling. She has now confirmed that. So I guess we are going to see her appearing on All Elite Championship Wrestling. Why did I get championship? All Elite Wrestling for the foreseeable future. I don't know where championship came from when I just said that. But yeah, All Elite Wrestling now has Viva Van. So congratulations to her as she goes into 2025. She will now be with this promotion. Now, whether she makes a big difference for it or not, time will tell. Because I tell you this, a lot of those ladies that pop up there that had some sort of praise and whatnot, they just do not seem to go very far once they get into AEW's purview or get into the orbit of them. Camille anybody. Or for that matter, whatever happened to Deonna Purrazzo? She came in as a big deal, had the big sign, well, I'm all elite and all that stuff, and then she just kind of withered away into obscurity. Anyhow, getting to the thing that I wanted to talk about mostly, and that is the Beast. I'm sure that some people are like, well, why? What did she do? Because she hasn't been on anybody's wrestling television since she quit. I put quit in air quotes. And that is true. She has not been on anybody's television since she quit. Or at least not anybody's wrestling television since she quit. I went to work one day, and Miss Newhire, for those who have listened to the show know who she is, came up to me and said, hey, I saw the Beast. And I'm like, where'd you see her at? You must have saw her doing the bodybuilding thing or something. I was like, no. I saw the Beast on Mr. Beast. So like, now at that point when she said that, I immediately assumed that this was a joke and I was waiting on the punchline. I'm like, you saw the Beast on Mr. Beast. And I'm waiting, but there's no punchline coming. And she says, no, I'm serious. I saw her. They had her name up there. They had Tawana something. And when she said that, I was like, oh, okay. Now, wait a minute. She might be actually onto something, because I know for a fact that she did not know the Beast's actual name. Nor do I think that she would have gone out of her way to go look it up. I was like, okay, well, that is her name. What did you see her on? It's like, there's a reality show competition on Amazon that I watch, is the Beast Games, and she's on it. I'm like, seriously? She says, yeah. And she breaks out the phone. She shows me the thing, pulls it up. And it's not, and let's just kind of paint the picture here. This is supposed to be like the largest reality show competition, period. It was like 1,000 people that all competing on this thing. So when I'm seeing this massive field worth of people out there, I was like, there's no way that I'm going to see her in this show. I was incorrect. You see her immediately. I mean, like within the first minute or less, you see who we know as the Beast. Basically cutting a promo for, 10 or 20 seconds about what they're going to do. And at that point, I was like, okay, she's right. The Beast is on this thing. It's not like she imagined it or saw somebody that she thought was the Beast or looked kind of close to her. No, it is her. She's on this show. And having seen that or having it brought up to me, because believe me, if she had not have said that, I probably very likely would have never known a thing about what the Beast is doing outside of WoW. It just wouldn't have crossed my mind. I am not a reality TV watcher. Nothing against reality TV, but it's just not my thing to watch. So if I see it, it's kind of in passing, or I'm watching it with somebody, or something along those lines. I don't just seek it out on its own. So I probably would have been very unlikely to have caught the Beast games on anything. But when you go and you pull it up, I think they're about, how many episodes are there? They're probably about 4 episodes in as I am talking right now. And I looked at a couple of minutes of the first, and then I looked at a couple of minutes of the last one that was available to me. And I had to say, I was like, she seems to be prominently featured on this show. And I'm was like legit amazed. Now, for those who don't know what the Beast games are, the best way that I could describe it is like the Squid Games minus the death. We're going to give you a bunch of these things to have to do with this team or your group of people, but we're going to tempt you along the way with, hey, you can push this button and get $1 million right here, right now, and abandon your team, or, which was a real thing. They had the captains go up there apparently and make the choice of whether they were going to take the $1 million. Well, they didn't even know it was going to be $1 million. The tally was just building up as they were sitting there or standing there watching this number climb. And they could have abandoned their teams and hit the button and just walked out. But they did not do that. They stood, all of them stood their ground. Hey, look, I'm getting messages now. But they stood their ground and did not take the money. Amazingly enough. And again, the Beast is up there. She's one of the 4 out of 1,000 people that's out of this field. She's one of the 4 that's making this decision. So I got to thinking about this. I mean, first off, congratulations to her. Anything that you can say about the Beast or Tawana or whatever, it's certainly not going to knock her for whatever opportunities that she had presented to her. She seemingly is doing very well for herself in this instance. But like I was about to say, it did make me start thinking about the timeline of things, which is the whole reason that I brought it up in the first place. Because I thought, at what point did she know she was going to do any of this? At what point was this a reality that she was going to participate on this show? And I should also point out that it's not just her. Apparently her husband is on this show as well. So it is a family affair, so to speak. She possibly would have gotten some information about this in June. So let me work backwards here. And before I even begin to surmise or take guess, okay, I probably should turn that off because because I don't want a bunch of chimes and ringing going on in here. So my apologies, people. But I'm going to work this backwards. And I'm just going to start with the old this I cannot prove. Okay? I haven't talked to anybody about it. I haven't asked any other questions about it. I haven't tried to reach out to her, nor have I tried to reach out to Mr. Beast or anything like that. So just keep that in mind. Take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. This is just me piecing these together as best as I can do it. So we can figure a few things at best. And I'm sure if I'm wrong, somebody will reach out to me and tell me. But we can figure a few things at best. One, we know that last season, before they got to where we're just going to shoot everything now, it was shot essentially about every 3 months. Which probably would have been, when did they stop? It would have been of preceding September, obviously. So maybe around August or so, who knows? But I mean, that particular date is not the important part. The important part is that you have a window between that last shoot date and September. Variety reported that Mr. Beast was greenlit in May. The article that I read was about May 19th. So probably was greenlit a little bit ahead of that. But I would imagine that any applications that went on either took place later that month, but to be safe, let's just say June. We can also kind of guess that maybe it took them a month or so to kind of sort through some of the applicants. Possibly July or August. To go through, which I would imagine would be thousands of applications. So, again, let's go with the safe thing and say mid to late July. If you are getting approval, like, hey, we'd like to have you on our show, of course, they're going to say it before it's actually time for them to go off and do it. And also, another element to this is shot in Las Vegas. That is a very drivable trip. It would be from Los Angeles to Las Vegas. It'd be like me driving from Atlanta to Orlando, Florida. Minus 2 hours. Like for me, that trip would be 6 hours. To do Angeles to Vegas is about 4, traffic considering. So it's not like you got to hop a plane and fly across country and all that stuff. So again, we're keeping this in the realm of this is possible. If approval comes down anywhere before September, which you have to figure that it did, or at least the hint of I might be able to get into this before September, that would explain a lot. It would explain a lot. It would explain the entire reasons that she didn't show her face on that show at all. It also would give them at least the possibility that they had a better out for the attack that took place on the Beast. It's possible that it was supposed to lead to a match. It's possible. But despite that, here I still have a problem with it, and I'm sure I'll go off on that because I still feel like that was something that WoW should have fixed. That is WoW's fault. That this did not come off better. But let's get back to the tracking of. So again, we figured that she would have gotten some information about this preceding September. She has to tell the management at some point, I don't think I'm going to be available for this. This other thing is coming up that I want to do. And that gets her out of the show. Doesn't get her into the taping of it. Gets off of the character or the persona of the Beast having to be there. The entire year of WoW, according to their shooting schedule, has been shot. Which means that if she could not make September, it's very unlikely that she will make any episodes of WoW until 2025 September. She started, she wasn't there for 2024 September. She won't be there at the other side of that coin either. So now you've got the Beast appearing on Mr. Beast or the Beast Games, which leaves Wild pretty much high and dry. The decision was made. Do I take my chances on going on this reality competition and hopefully getting by and winning, or do I return as the champion to this promotion that I haven't lost in at all and do the favors or whatever the case may be on the way out? Well, again, the problem there is being that the schedule for this probably almost instantly made that decision for her. Probably didn't have the room to get out of it. Which means that, okay, the Wild Championship now has been vacated and you don't have any other choice but to do something that you probably had no intentions of in the first place. We got to vacate it and try a battle royal or whatever. Here's why I say that, because on the surface of it, it might sound like, oh, well, now I can sympathize with Wild. But here's why I don't. This is why I still don't sympathize with them, because I would imagine at some point, like I said, she would have had to have told them, I am not coming in for this taping. Once you've gotten that, or even a hint of it, off of an angle that had we'll call them a heel faction, an unknown heel faction, but a heel faction doing an attack, you got to follow up with the attack, even if it's not the Beast. This is why I said at the time, the problem that I had with that is that they walked her out of that building. She should have been carted off on a stretcher. Neck brace, stretcher, tied down, rolled out of that place. So that the injury angle looks like an injury angle, opposed to, oh, let me just help you on your feet with this headache and walk you out of this building. That alone could have gotten the Beast off of TV without much explanation. But having your unknown attackers be reprimanded and dealt with by David McLean didn't help anything. This should have been a case of, okay, well, if the Beast cannot make it, we're going to have to transfer this off onto some other babyface. Somebody else who's going to have to take up the fight against this unknown force that is making our workplace a dangerous place to be. But as it is, Dave McLean came in and saved the day and got rid of it in the most anticlimactic way ever, by firing 2 of the 3 people, and one of which is still roaming around. This, for me, and I only speak for me, does not make the Wild product look strong at all. How many times have you seen a champion abandon their position to go run off and do something else? I mean, do I blame the Beast? No, I don't blame her at all. Not at all. Because at the very least, she's probably going to get more recognition off of being on this Amazon reality show than she ever did off of WoW. More people will probably recognize her from that, just based on the numbers. So no, I don't blame her in the least for taking that chance. But I will say that she was their champion. And she's already given up the title once before. I don't know what kind of leeway she would have had to try and get, okay, let me come in here and have a match and do this, that, and the other. But I keep saying, that is not her fault. That's Wild's fault. That's Wild's fault for creating the situation that she's in. Or that all of them are in. If you're only going to shoot once in a year, you've traded off one problem for another. which is everything that I said months ago. Part of the whole reason I wanted to bring this up to begin with, because I said that this eventually is going to be a problem. And I don't know why anybody would see differently. And I am going to repeat, I do not blame the Beast. It's not her fault. She didn't make the shooting schedule. But they needed to do something with their champion so they can get something out of her. And that never took place. Never. It never took place. You would think after technically 7 years of being more or less undefeated, somebody would get something from that. Nope. Not a single person. She has more or less been smashed over top of every single person that's been put in front of her without having to do a job whatsoever. And when you're only doing it once in every 3 months, I mean, that's hard enough. To shoot once in a year is just as bad as having a show that goes on a wrestling show. Let me be specific. A wrestling show that goes on hiatus and then tries to come back. The same problem applies. I said it for when they took these seasons off, and I'm saying it for this. It is a large window for people to run off and find other things to do. And they can't even take advantage of it. It's not like they can say, hey guys, make sure you watch our star, the Beast, on Mr. Beast or the Beast games. Or they can go out there and produce it like, hey, can we get an interview and run it on our show? They can't do anything. They cannot take advantage of this whatsoever. Cannot co-promote it. Can't have their cameras on scene. Can't get a side interview with the Beast like, hey, I know that I'm champion here, but I'm going to win this $5 million, blah, blah, blah. Nothing. They can't do anything. So for those people that were out there that were commenting, whether that be with me, whether that be on Reddit, whether that be Instagram, whatnot, like, oh, I hope she goes to WWE. No, she's not going to anybody's other wrestling promotion. Now you know where she's at. Now you know what she's doing. And hopefully she'll make some, waves there. Hopefully she'll win. It'd be great for her if she did. But I'm just saying seeing this with her as the champion, because they've had other people leave. They've had other people not return. They've had other people that just mysteriously vanished. But none of them have been in the position that the Beasts have. Angel Rose, Ariel Sky, Exodus, G.I. Jane, Rebel Hayes, Sasha Sparks, Sierra Breeze, Steffi Slays, the Tonga Twins, Vicky Lee McCoy. They're all gone. But none of them were going to affect the company or affect the show the way that the Beast did, because the Beast was the champion. The Beast was a focal point. The Beast was a centerpiece of that show. And then they had to find another way to get off of the show, pretty much the same way that they did 5 years ago. And that, we gotta take the title off of her. This is an issue created by WoW. It was a self-fulfilling prophecy. And as a side note, not for nothing and nothing against the Beast, but who out there was thinking that she was going to show up at AEW or WWE? Like, they were just going to walk her into the building like, oh my God, it's the Beast. I can't believe, who was expecting that? She hasn't had enough matches to garner that at all. WoW isn't looked at in the position of that whatsoever, so I don't know why people would have thought it. And let me just put something into perspective here. And I will just go off to say that this is only based on whether or not this site's records are completely accurate. cagematch.net. I have no reason to doubt their records, but cagematch.net lists the Beast's wrestling record, her career record. Do you know how many matches that she's listed as having in her entire career? From 2017 to 2024. Do you know how many matches that she's listed as having? No? 36. 36 matches. From 2017 to 2024. Now, you could do the math and try to average that out. Because I would have just bumped it up. So let's say 40 outside of 7 years, right? You could probably average her down to about 5 matches a year. 5 a year. I know people that do 5 matches in a month's time. She wouldn't be ready for a WWE or AEW unless they were going to do the same thing that Wild did. Smash over top of everybody to where she does not have to deal with some long back and forth match trying to tell a story in the ring. Her record, as it is right now, let's just go through what's listed. I will try to make this quick, so let's go. Starting off, the Beast defeats Steffi Slays. The Beast defeats Azteca. The Beast defeats Linus. The Beast defeats Steffi Slays again. The Beast defeats Linus again. The Beast defeats Tessa Blanchard and wins the championship. The Beast defeats, Jungle Girl defeats the Beast by DQ. This is the first loss she's had, and it's been done by disqualification. So not pinned, not submitted, DQ by Jungle Girl. Number 1 contendership with 3-way dance. Well, they don't call it 3-way dance, but you know. Jessica Havoc, Jungle Girl, the Beast. No contest, no winner. The Beast defeats Alliance. The Beast defeats Krampus. The Beast defeats Jungle Girl. Jungle Girl and the Beast defeat the Monsters of Madness, which is made up by Jessica Havoc and Hazard. The Beast defeats Temptress. The Beast defeats the Disciplinarian. The Beast defeats Serpentine. I'm sorry, doesn't defeat her. It was another no contest. So again, no pin, no submission. She just went the distance. After that, the Beast defeats Dagger. And what I would guess to be record time. No, actually, her beating the Lioness was record time. It was like 45 seconds. Dagger was a minute. The only loss the Beast has of record is Tessa Blanchard defeating the Beast for the championship, which is an unrecognized title win by WOW. So as far as officially speaking is concerned, the Beast never was beaten. She has a loss by Tessa Blanchard that is on, is it on YouTube? It was on the CW channel, but I don't think that they have those listed anymore. So it might be on Pluto, but if it's not, then it is completely in the dark. No one knows where it is if it is vanished. And that takes whatever loss she had away. Officially, it's already, it didn't exist to begin with. But if you just wanted to see it, you might not even be able to do that. So we'll just say, for the sake of this, that she's had the one loss. Continuing on, the Beast versus Venomous, who we now know as Reina Del Rey. That was a double DQ. So again, no loss. The Beast defeats Lioness again. She just was taking beating after beating after beating. The Beast defeats Adriana Gambino. The Beast defeats Tormenta. The Beast wins the triple threat match with Reina Del Rey and Tormenta. And that the triple threat only went 3 minutes. The Beast defeats Chainsaw. The Beast and Vicky Lynn, no contest. The False Count Anywhere matchup, which followed that, the Beast defeated Vicky Lynn. And then we have a Wild Championship challenge match. That's a stupid idea. where the Beast is part of a multi-person match and she didn't really lose, but she didn't win it either. Abilene Maverick won that one, by the way. The Beast defeated Abilene Maverick by disqualification. The Beast defeats Tormenta in less than 3 minutes. Abilene Maverick defeats the Beast by disqualification. The Beast defeats Penelope Pink. The Beast defeats Goldie Collins. The Beast defeats the Classmaster. The Beast defeats Abilene Maverick and wins the title. The Beast and the Island Dynasty defeat the Fabulous Four. The Beast defeats Tormenta. The Beast defeats Penelope Pink. That is all 36 slots as listed by Cage Match. And those matches, as you heard, none of which did she take a loss, or at least a recognized loss. Did not happen. So no one there got the chance to garner any sort of credibility off of defeating the Beast and, the one person that actually done it or something along those lines. It just never happened. So what can we say? The Beast, although moving on for her greater good, was incapable, either by management or maybe her own choices, to do the greater good for a while. And WoW is not in a position where they cannot afford the greater good to not be done for them. They need the help and all of it that they can get. So there we have it. She's off on the Beast Games. The mystery is solved. We know why she is not on WoW's TV right now. The following question would be, will she ever show back up? Will there be a reason for her to show back up? Well, there's always a reason. I'm pretty sure that they can beg and plead and come on back to the show. You can be the champion again or something. But I don't see any real purpose behind having her there. I mean, and not that I don't like her, because I will say this for her on Beast Games. That's probably the most entertaining or interesting that she's come off to me. Because she doesn't look like she's just playing the part there. When she's the Beast, she feels like I'm the biggest, I'm the baddest, I'm the beat. It feels like this is memorized verbiage. Go out here and say this. Whereas on the Beast Games, when she talks trash, it just sounds like a woman that's talking trash. We are going to win. We're here to break bones and break spirits, or whatever she said. It was a nice little miniature promo. But I mean, that to me, that was like worlds apart. If she does well here, will that have anything to do with whether she returns or not? That's another interesting question. What if she does win the money? Would she return to WoW? All of these questions and many more. But the end of this, aside from the Beast, aside from what she's done, and again, congratulations to her for even being on the show and getting the opportunity to do what she's doing, WoW needs to fix this. WoW needs to fix this. This is, again, a problem that they created. Shooting this once in a year is fucking stupid. It is not like doing Game of Thrones. It's not like doing Blue Bloods or whatever TV shows that exist right now. It's not like doing those shows. It's pro wrestling, and they need to be on a turnaround. Do I think that's easy? No, I don't think it's easy. It's not easy to do turnaround all the time. But my gosh, man, it would probably have minimized the ability for this to happen. And even if she wanted to leave, if you, let's just say, shot once a month, even if she said, hey, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this, then you might have been able to say, all right, well, let's just get a quick match in here. You drop it and go about your way. Maybe. Even if that took, hey, we got to fly you out of Mr. Beast, get you to come here and do this thing and go back. I mean, I don't know what the solution is. I don't know because I don't know what parameters Mr. Beast and the Beast Games would garner. Like, once you're on the set, can you leave? But you needed to work out something because it's going to happen again. This is going to happen again. Somebody that they like that's on that show is going to go off and find something that they want to do, and it's going to turn into, hey, you look, I think I'm going to have to do this thing, and I'm not going to be able to make it back. And then they're going to just, probably in their case, just vanish. It'd be like he never existed. The Beast, they had to explain, and that's just because of the championship belt. But anybody else, they'll be just like the other girls that I mentioned earlier. They'll just disappear. Won't have a word said about them. Unless they got to get fired publicly by David McClain. But it's a problem that's sitting and it is waiting to happen again. Mark my words. I said that then. Mark my words. This is going to be a problem. I'm repeating it. Mark my words. This will happen again. I don't know when. I don't know how. It might take another 3 years. But it'll happen again if it's on the air and they continue with this pattern. Because one of them that's not into being a wrestler to begin with and just there to pad their resume, I'm sure they're still doing auditions, applications for reality shows and everything else. And you let one of those places say, sure, we'll take you on. And watch how fast they get out of there. Hey, I don't think I can do this for you, David. I'm sorry. Self-fulfilling prophecy. That's what that is. So we will end off on that. As we close up the news, views, and updates, I think that's everything that I should have to talk about in here. We can get ready to move on to the review itself. So as we get ready to take this break, let me get myself together and my notes together while we have this little sidebar moment. And when I come back, we'll go off into the review of WOW Women of Wrestling. We are back, ladies and gentlemen, and it is now time to go into the full review of WOW. And as we do, we're going to give the opening slate for what this episode is so you can know and be able to follow along. This episode was episode 315, season 3, episode 15, title Everything to Prove. The air date, December 21st. The chronological number, 119. This episode began with the Alliance walking out the ringside in force and McLean on commentary talking them down the ringside. He puts over the Wild Championship, says that this is what everyone's talking about. Because the Wild title is sitting at ringside. And credit where it's due, the putting over of the title, I like that. I don't agree that is what everyone's talking about, but he needs to say that. In their universe, this should be the most important thing available to them, the Wild Championship. Now, given what I just talked about in the news, views, and updates, it doesn't really help that you've had your champion more or less pick something else over the Wild title. I mean, she was the active champion, and now she's gone off and like, well, I'm going to compete. So it doesn't come off to me as being super important, but, you know, whatever. The point being here is that they have it on display. It's got this, you know, this purple glitter thing that is laying on. It looks like somebody's old cape that they just decided to put on like a little easel and cover the easel up and then put the thing on there. And look, whatever it is that they did, I'm not trying to down talk it because it actually looks great. You know, the title on that backdrop on the table looks important. It looks like a championship should. I just wish that the championship had more value to it. I don't think it has any value at all. Looks great, but I do not believe in the Wild title for a variety of reasons. I'm not going to go into that right now. I've already talked about it at one point, and I'm sure I'll bring it up again. But they open up with that. He talks about the title and basically setting the table for, you know, more qualifying matches that for people to get into this battle royal. Now the battle royal in and of itself is probably should have already happened. Quite honestly, if we're just talking about getting this thing over with, because they haven't had a champion in how long is it? It feels like it's been months. Well, it has been months. I should say it feels like it's been about 3 or 4 of them that they've had since they've had a champion to represent WoW, which is yet another argument. While, like, you know, they shouldn't have wasted their time on the trios titles. They should have come up with a secondary belt, and I don't mean that Genie Bus belt, the Mark belt that they're going to introduce a little bit later on. So anyhow, Gambino starts off this with a promo. And Del Rey wraps up the promo, makes the point to her opponent, Foxy Fierce. I'm trying to think of a good way to say it. I'm of two minds of the Alliance. One, I like every person that's in it. I have said Gambino looks like a star. I'm really disappointed that she's hurt because I thought that she was making strides there with what was addressed as her undefeated streak since returning. Anybody that's listening knows that I think the world of the Brat Pack, even though they have been buried immensely, and I try not to even use the term buried all that much, but here I'm going to say it, they've been buried. They make no grounds. And then Del Rey, who's been largely untouched, but there's no significant aim for her. This is the first thing that we've had that we could put a focal point on and say, all right, she has a mission. Or it's the first time we've seen it in a while. And that aside, yeah, the group I enjoy. I just hate that they exist now, because I don't see any out for them. Not so long as there's a top tier that exists, and more specifically, not so long as there's a Fabulous Four that exists around them. It's already a heel promotion, but, you know, the heels of choice here are clearly those two. It's top tier, who exist in their own little universe, and then there's the Fabulous Four that exists everywhere else. The Alliance, I'm concerned that they do not have anywhere to go. And as much as they may try, and when I say they, I'm talking about WoW and WoW's commentators, specifically Dave McClain. As much as they may try to say, hey, they're trying to take over WoW, it's like, well, how are they doing that? He said it once. It hadn't been brought up again, but he said it once. In that, all right, well, they're here to take over WoW. How? What are they doing? What have they done to take WoW over? They haven't threatened anybody. They haven't gained any championships. They haven't even had a championship shot. This is the opportunity to get a championship shot. But nothing's happened for the Alliance. The focal point has been elsewhere. It's not really much that they can do. They, in my opinion, should have come around as the Fab Four were finishing up. Whether that be finishing up in terms of leaving, or whether that be probably more likely finishing up in terms of being the top act and rotating them down on the card to do something else. But they just refuse to do that. They just keep going. And again, when I say they, I'm talking about management, not the team specifically. But this is a qualifier, so that was the opening segment. The next segment is the match itself, and that's Foxy Fierce versus Reina Del Rey with the Alliance, the entire heel team at ringside. I wrote, why is Foxy's sister not there? The end of this only made me feel that much stronger about that comment. Why is her sister not there? It's bad enough. Well, what was it, like two or 3 weeks ago when Roxy was there? Foxy wasn't even in the building. And they made that clear in commentary. Like she's not even here. Foxy is watching Roxy at home on TV. Like, why would she not be there? It's only been every example possible that the heels are going to cheat, especially when they come out there in full force. Why would you not be there? And that's not to say that she's going to be successful. I'm just saying, wouldn't you want to watch your sister's back? Or maybe this was just payback for, well, you ain't watch me, so screw you. I don't know. So, and I will just put this because I wrote this in part of my notes. And I cannot take credit for this. This statement belongs to another podcaster, the Classmaster. He deserves credit for this phrase, but I'm going to bar right now. This is a case of dumb babyface syndrome, where the babyface just has like no idea how to protect themselves out of these situations that everyone else in the world can see is about to happen but them. It's dumb babyface syndrome. So as this is happening, and Foxy, make sure I say that correctly, Foxy's coming out to ringside. Gambino goes to sit at the commentary desk again because it's mandatory. The mandatory sitting of the talent next to David McClain to talk about whatever. So I don't know. Once or twice I can see, but it is like every time. Anytime there's more than two people at ringside, one of them has to go over there and sit next to David and talk about whatever it is that they're going to talk about. So Gambino goes to sit next to McClain. He's beaming and, sitting next to her. Fierce and Del Rey begin the match. And as I guess expected, Foxy does her dances. She ducks underneath being the tie-up. And she's like, woo! And she's dancing around. Then she does it again. And like, yeah. Del Rey then looks like she's annoyed and then goes over there and pretty much like body slaps her into the corner. And then gets a side headlock on her. The side headlock keeps this thing grounded. And that pretty much was the theme throughout the entirety of the match. It was a grounded match, nothing overly complicated, nothing out of the box for Foxy to have to do or whatnot. She tried a cartwheel out of a wrist lock, but then Del Rey reaches up and grabs Foxy's hair and yanks it down. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that, because last time I said something about Del Rey reaching into someone's hair, she left me a comment on the at the bottom there to correct me. So let us make sure that we get that right. Foxy's hair got somehow tied up in Del Rey's fingers. Damn her. How dare you get your hair in her way? So she trips up over her own feet as Del Rey is trying to get her fingers loose from Foxy forcing herself and her hair into Del Rey's hands, the dirty heel that she is. And then she rolls through and gets a rear waist lock on Del Rey. Del Rey does a great heel escape move. I mean, I've seen this done a couple of times by people like Savage and Flair and, over the years. It's the old, when I got the waist lock on me, I run to the ropes and I duck. And whoever's holding on to the rear goes throat first, essentially, into the top rope. It's an old escape, but it's an effective one, and I really wish that the cameras had caught it. They caught most of it. They caught Del Rey going through. They didn't see the impact of Foxy getting goozled on the top rope, which is kind of an important part. But we missed that. Foxy then gets yanked out, and then we get some forearm shots by Del Rey. The forearm shots look great. I love those. And Foxy sold it. I mean, I give Foxy Fierce a hard time because she's an actor and whatever. But in this case, look at the forearm shots. Look at Foxy's face. She sold those. And I have to give her credit where it's due. She looked like, and I don't care if anybody else didn't take it or it was a minute portion or if it was just a nuance that most people didn't see. I do not care. She sold it like those things hurt like a mother. And I love it. I love that. Because somebody will see it and the camera will catch it, and you treat this like it is real and that is happening at any given point. From the moment you walk out the curtain to the moment you go back, all this is real. Del Rey sets up for a drive-by. She antagonizes the crowd. She comes back with a knee lift. Boom. She nails Foxy. Foxy sells it good, too. Sells that good, too, I should say. She's taking a beating, right? As she should. And we got Gambino on there at the commentating booth, and she's talking. This is where it starts getting bad for me. And it's not the participants, it's the stuff that kind of resulted from it. So Del Rey positions Foxy. Referee comes down to have a talk with Del Rey, and she kind of forces Foxy towards her partners as she talks to the referee and maneuvers him to where his back is turned. Gianni and Rhythm then grab Foxy. And now I love Killer Kate / BK Rhythm, but the punches look like they were obviously trying to not hurt Foxy, and I'm sure she wasn't trying to hurt her. But they didn't look great on camera. Those shots to the abdomen, they were, and I'm not saying she probably felt them. Foxy did, but she was not. It didn't shine well. It didn't come off well just in front of it from a camera standpoint. We're not talking about a physical standpoint, from a camera standpoint. TV standpoint, if you will. But this is where Dave McClain starts his, you promised me that they weren't going to interfere. And, and she being Gambino trying to explain it like, they were just helping her back in the ring, David. Now, bear in mind, we've had weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks of people interfering. Weeks. Top Tier interferes. Samantha Smart interferes. The Fabulous Four interferes. Every heel faction here in group and or manager interferes. Why was this any different? But it's like he just took this personally and just carried on about it. So meanwhile, let's get back into the match. Fierce has been put back into the ring. Del Rey takes her and slings her to the ropes. She runs in. She gets caught in the face with not a drop kick, but the double boots. If there's anything I can say that Fierce does really well, like that tumble roll, she's really good at. She can move quickly. I wish that she were doing this elsewhere and getting some experience in how to present herself in the psychological sense and in the match, because she looks fine and she delivers the moves well. She could, again, is the common thread. They can do the moves. Now what and how and when, that's a whole different issue, but she can do the moves. Gianni tries to interfere at one point. Fierce is able to get her off. Del Rey comes back and charges Fierce in the corner. Fierce is able to get her in like a sunset flip out of the corners. Almost gets the pin, doesn't get it, but Del Rey then turns it around and fires some forearm shots into the chest of old Foxy Fierce. Foxy then tries to, I guess, regain some sort of momentum when she stood up. The camera did a good job of cutting away because that first shot didn't look like it was going anywhere. She did follow it up with a chop across the chest. It looks like a bad edit, but it's quick enough to where you could be fine with it. Del Rey takes the chop and she gives a forearm shot in return. Excuse me, not a forearm shot. She gives an overhand chop in return. Gets some momentum off the ropes, tries to charge in. Foxy stops that. She goes to the other one. Foxy maneuvers herself to where she would have gotten her finish that rear end. She ducks underneath a charging clothesline from Del Rey. Does not get the rear end because Del Rey catches the ropes. Foxy drops down to her knees, looks like, hey, what happened? And then before she knows it, a clothesline comes across the back of her head, and 1, 2, 3, she's done. Very basic match, kept grounded. Not a lot of, like I said, over-the-top stuff going on. Not a lot of stuff that would take Foxy out of her wheelhouse. Not a lot of things that would make her do something that she isn't prepared to do. It was kept to a good, strong minimum, but still get the point across. This is one of those things, it's like the Andre the Giant rule. You don't cheat because you have to. In the case of Del Rey, you're cheating because you can. As the heel, she is not cheating because she needs to cheat. She's cheating because she is capable of doing it. Once the match is over with, the remaining members of the Fab Four, God damn it, the remaining members of the Alliance get into the ring and start beating up on Foxy. And Roxy comes out from backstage within seconds with a steel chair to run them off. Which is why I was like, why wasn't she out there to begin with? It can't be a case of where she's banned from ringside, because that wouldn't make sense, because the other side had everybody there. I don't know. Roxy runs them off. Gambino gets from behind the desk, and she goes off with her group as Roxy checks on her sister to make sure she's okay. I don't think that this was ever in any doubt about who was going to win or lose this match. This was very much a foregone conclusion. So as they walk away, the Alliance, McLean gets up and he decides that the promise that Gambino gave was broken. You promised that they weren't going to interfere, etc., etc., etc. So when they come back out tonight, you're barred from ringside. Oh no! David Bannon and Alliance seems more like an I'll show you moment rather than trying to follow any sort of rules. Like, this felt more like, you lied to me, so I got to do something about it, opposed to, being upset that they cheated. He calls people cheating every week. They stand in front of him and cheat, and nothing is done about it. But today it happens to be different because Gambino promised him it wasn't going to happen, and apparently that promise wasn't kept, so therefore you must be punished. The note that I wrote and highlighted was, this is a prime example why I don't like him at ringside. His authority comes and goes as he feels fit to do it. It is not consistent. And it's not. None of this is consistent. How do you justify kicking the Alliance out at ringside, but you are perfectly fine with Lana Star coming out, with HollySwag later on? Two people who have not only been seen and profiled as to cheating, they pretty much come out the ringside with the weapon that they're going to use. How does that make sense? I'm sure it's not weekly that I say it, but I know I've said it a number of times. He needs to do one or the other. Either leave commentary and be the authority figure so you can make these decisions like that every once in a while so it actually means something, or assign someone else to do it for you. So you could just be the commentator and you don't have to worry about justifying why you can and cannot do certain things. It's absurd. It is really absurd. Having him there violates any thread, however thin it will happen to be, of logic as to why they can do the stuff that they do and other ones don't. I don't get that. So there we are with that. McLean makes his mandate that the Alliance is banned from ringside, but it's just them because they're that horrible a group. Never mind somebody that's whacking somebody in the head with a rock or cheating during trios matches every chance they get. Nope, just them. Next segment is a tag team match, the Environmentalists versus the Mighty Mites. This is the introduction of the persona that I was dreading watching, and that is Sprout Greens. I still hate that name. However, I am going to do something that I did not think I was going to be capable of doing with her or this group or this team. I'm going to give them credit because to me, this is probably the best way to have introduced Sprout Greens without her coming off like a complete idiot or a joke. Being a part of a team, that's the plus. The minus here, we've not heard Scout Parker explain why she did what she did. We've not heard Scout Parker explain why she became Scout Parker. We have not heard her explain how she forged this team, met this person, or why they're on this mission. David McLean had to explain it, which again, he cannot explain everything. He and Nigel Zane cannot explain everything. They cannot be there to explain, well, you know, they went to this retreat and did this and they met and decided to do blah, 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 blah. They can't explain everything. It has to come out of the mouth of the talent every once in a while. And then it was a good team for them to start off against, the Mighty Mites. Now, I like the Mites, but I have given up on the idea that WoW was going to do anything of any significance with them. But they are a good team, and they're fairly talented in the ring. But they are there largely to make other people look good. And there's nothing wrong with that. Somebody's got to do it. That's somebody's job. And they seem to be pretty good at it. Although, like I said, I would tend to want to see them in a different position. That's just me. So, before we even go into review of the match, this should have been the introduction of the reintroduction of Scout Parker to begin with, rather than having a meaningless singles match where she was going to lose, attack someone afterwards, and it was not going to be followed up on at any point by the person she attacked or any other angle following. So this should have been the introduction right here. The match started off with sugar and greens. Ugh. Oh, boy. I know that's going to be difficult as time goes on. But it starts off with sugar and sprout. Whew. Man, these names are awful. These names are awful. Anyhow, the thing that makes it plausible is at least the stuff that went on in the ring was palatable. You could watch it, and it didn't seem like it was just crap. Side headlock by Sugar. Sprout decides that she's going to use the hair to get free. Sugar is able to turn that into a snap mare. Sends it down to the mat, goes to the ropes, gives her a kick in the chest. And then we got a good couple of tandem, like cartwheel splashes by both Sugar and Spice, and they go for the cover. Scout kicks out of that. I was pretty sure that the Environmentalists would do well here, because if it had been any other team, I probably would in question. But like I said, it feels to me like the Mites are largely there to provide a good match for other people. Scout tags in. Goddamn. Sprout tags in Scout. Why do they have these stupid fucking names? Anyways, Scout is tagged in by Sprout. She's in there with Spice. And they have a nice little exchange. I mean, there was like a do-si-do. Spice turns her around, sends her in the middle of the ring, catches her with her head scissors. And Scout does a good job with it. I am a lot less critical of the Scout Parker outside of the name, a lot less critical of her gimmick. Because, look, it's not the first time we've seen somebody in some sort of suit or full-on clothing in a wrestling ring. You can look at IRS, you can look at Big Bubba Rogers and some, and others. So this gimmick with Scout does not bother me at all. And I don't know why it looks like she got shorter when she put these. Maybe it's because it's not tights and you're not seeing her full form body, but it just looked like she shrunk. At least it did for me. She just looks a lot more stout. And I should not be saying that along with names like Scout and Sprout. Oh, boy. Anyhow, the match is moving along fine. There's not really a lot, and this is going to be the theme of this entire episode. There's not really a lot going on there. It is just something to maintain the flow of the shows. Nothing important. Like, I didn't really feel, as much as I was fine with the Environmentalists, and I'm not sure if I'm big on that name, but I didn't feel like there was anything of major significance happening there. We can get to the end of it. The Mites did a fine job of selling for, bumping for, making the Environmentalists look, pretty strong and deadly. And the Environmentalists did a good job of holding up their end of the bargain. Sprout does look like, work like, act like somebody who's trained directly through WoW. And how she walks and the old, yeah, look at me, and you like that? Every time you do a move, you just kind of address the crowd or address the referee, and yeah, it's going to be your turn next. It's like that. When I see stuff like that, it feels a lot like, that's a WoW trainee there. Because they do what WoW has trained them to do, and they usually do not deviate off of that path. Now, did she execute her moves well? Yes. I have to give her that. She executed her moves very well. And she seems more in tune with being this person than some other personas that have existed on WoW. We'll put it that way. I do not like the gear, the lettuce leaves and the cabbage and the peppers and whatnot. Don't like any of that. Neither did I like the hot tag that they did here, because it just kind of it was slightly better than the old let's get down and we'll both tag at the same time. It was slightly better than that. Spice shakes off Sprout. Sprout makes the tag to Sugar, and then as Sprout is shooken off or elbowed and she goes back to her corners, then Scout is tagged in. You can see why I can dislike these names. So Sugar comes in and she's taking over on Scout Parker. Scout is bumping around and selling and all that good stuff. Then they tag back into Spice. Everything seemed to have been going fine. The tandem move that the Mites were trying were countered by the heels. Sugar was tossed in to hit Scout in the corner. Scout was able to shoot her off over the top rope, off to the floor. Then Spice tries to come in and attack her. Spice gets caught. She's reversed by Scout. Scout then shoots her into their corner. Scout then tells the referee, hey, look at her, to stop Sugar from coming in. Sprout comes in and gives a body slam to Spice, which then sets up a springboard moonsault for Parker, who pins Spice middle of the ring. Heels go over clean. Surprisingly. And then the Environmentalists cut a promo. I don't know what it is with every heel wanting to snatch the microphone away from their friends or partners or manager or whatever, but it's like this seems to be the ongoing mandate. And when you're out there, make sure you yank that microphone out of her hand. I don't know what that's about, but it keeps happening. And this was no different. Now, it's not saying that they're already breaking up. It's not saying that they're already having issues. It's just that for whatever reasons, this seems to be a thing. Like, grab the microphone. And as Scout is cutting a promo, that's what Sprout did. She grabbed the microphone and kind of reiterated the facts like, yeah, whatever. The promo I thought was not, well, let me just go back. It was an okay start for the promo. It wasn't a bad debut. This, as I stated before, should have been the reintroduction of Scout Parker, opposed to her coming out and losing. This is good, but there's no heat on this match. There's nothing really here. It's just an introduction of another person who is doing everything that everybody else on the show is doing. Like I said, I don't understand the yanking of the microphone by every other person on the roster. I mean, you can just hand the mic over. It's not a mandate. It's not some rule that if you're a heel, you have to yank the mic with aggression. That's not a thing that you must do. But that's what she did because, reasons. So they basically cut the promo on, why they're environmentalists and, whatever it is that they're doing past that. And they have somebody in the crowd saying, Viva la Vegan. Now they have a poster that was made for Sprout Greens on her debut. So, yeah, it's another one of those. I'm pretty sure that's a audience plant like we've already known that there's audience plants out there. No pun intended. I just thought about what I was saying. Next segment. The commentators say we're going to the locker room to see the Alliance, but this isn't the locker room. This is like backstage. So I'm not sure why that went off the rails there, but whatever. This promo backstage segment went absolutely nowhere. Didn't serve any purpose. I mean, it was kind of a setup for, I guess, something, but it didn't do it didn't help Rhythm at all. They are talking, they being the Alliance, they're talking backstage, they're giving her words of encouragement because they can't go out there. And then before she leaves, Gianni takes her tag team partner off to the side, like, hey, let me tell you something. She whispers something in her ear. And then Del Rey and Gambino's like, hey, what was that? And again, Gianni's like, well, just a little bit of encouragement. And that was mostly it. I was like, well, okay, it's a nice fill of airtime. But where is this going? Where was this going? It didn't feel like there was anything to be gained from that because it didn't do anything. It didn't go anywhere. The selling point of the Alliance's band, I wrote, again, this illustrates McLean is capable of doing this at any given time. The whole, your band, or you do this, or you do that, you can or you can't. You can be here or you won't. This match illustrates that at any given point he could do this if he chose to. He just chooses not to. So there we go. The next segment is the match itself. I'm going to sidebar here to say something before I go into the full review of that match. Whoever it is that's chopping up the videos for a while, give that person, male or female, give them some help, will you please? Every once in a while, you'll go into their YouTube channel and it's like, here's this one match that we advertised, but the match will be listed in the video for like half an hour. And you know full goddamn well that this match is not in half an hour because no match in WoW has ever lasted that long. They've got 20 years underneath them. They have never had a match that has gone beyond 15 minutes. So this video reading itself at some 28:12, you know full well like something ain't right here, and it's not. It's footage that has basically been forgotten for the remainder of the show. Like it begins with Rhythm and Swag. But within that same video, there's, the main event. And then there's these segments that took place after the show. I mean, they're filled with portions of black, but they're there if you just scroll through. So it's two matches on this, what's supposed to be the one match, and then there's just segment after segment after segment, like 4 or 5 of them. Whoever this is, get them some help. Get them some help because this isn't the first time that this happened. It's probably not going to be the last. Get them some help so that they can do their job properly. Anyhow, so this is the next segment. This is another heel versus heel match. The note that I wrote following that was, if the Alliance is banned, why is Lana Star allowed at ringside? Swag pretty much advertises that she'll cheat when the opportunity presents itself. And that is completely true. It's like she pretty much tells you that she is going to cheat. She walks out with the sock in the rock, or the rock in the sock. There's no doubt in anyone's mind that this is going to take place. So I don't know what the justification of well, heel group A is fine with me versus heel group B. Other than maybe when they came out there and gave him the champagne, it was an influence. I don't know. But when Swag comes out the ringside, she has it in her hand. She's not even trying to hide it. So, and upon second look, you can see the second one in her pocket because it's hanging out of the pocket. So anyhow, we've got that. Swag comes out and she whips her fur jacket at BK Rhythm, and while she's doing it, they are showing you the video in the picture-in-picture of HollySwag cheating at the beginning of before the match even begins. They are showing you HollySwag cheating to get the win, and they are calling it. It's like, hey, it was almost like praise. Oh, she got the upper hand there, David. She, used the sock of the rock and got the win. It was almost like we appreciate her ingenuity and being able to screw her opponent out of the win. Before we go further, let me, there we go. It's Celsius time. I stopped doing that, but, after you talk for so long, your mouth just dries out, so. Have to get something. Okay, so now BK Rhythm does what BK Rhythm normally does. Gets the microphone, says, hold up, I got something to say. And it's almost a babyface promo that she does here. Or babyface rap. Because she more or less ends it on, and I'm going to summarize to say that she acknowledges that HollySwag cheated. She's like, this is not going to happen again. There's not going to be an encore. And then she points out that, that the apple doesn't fall far from it must fall far from the tree because she's doing it in reverse. Turning it back on her mom, that couldn't be me. So it's like a babyface statement. Swag then grabs the microphone and then she, starts ripping on Rhythm or as far as ripping on him as she can do. I mean, I know that WoW is going to minimize how much trash talking that they are going to accomplish. But then Swag, like I said, she grabs the mic. In this case, the yanking of the mic is warranted because it's not her friend. Not like everybody else. So she grabs the mic and then she starts going off on it. And then she basically ends it by alluding to the fact that she was going to call her a bitch. Like, after I hit you with this hitch and ditch, all these people are going to realize you're just, and then she gets punched in the mouth. Or forearmed in the mouth. And then we go off into the match. Now, this match, not important. It's good, and I enjoyed watching it, but other than we've got two heels here, and one, I guess, is trying to get even for her friend, there's nothing that is happening here. Nothing. It is also detrimental, in my opinion, to the Alliance. In that this is the second time in a row that you've got HollySwag, who is basically outwitted and outsmarted her rival team. And rival is used loosely. So Swag starts, well, I'm not going to say Swag starts off. BK Rhythm starts off. And she's in control. She gets her in that nice, I don't know, it's not a full-on suplex, but it's like a hip toss into a suplex. That's the best way I can describe it right now. I love when she does that move. It's a great move. Usually coming off of the ropes. And she nails it. She gets put on the outside, or, she is maneuvered to the outside, but then Swag tries to charge her, and she gets caught. When Swag is leaned over the ropes and next to Rhythm, ever so slightly, she gives the Iggy to not Rhythm. Rhythm gets the Iggy. I got to get my words together. Rhythm gets the Iggy by Swag. She kind of like brushes his shoulder, and then that's, hey, we gotta grab my throat, yank me down, and she does. And as she's doing that, Lana, she puts her off and sends her back into the ring. Before Rhythm can get back in, Lana Star maneuvers herself over there and then grabs the leg of BK Rhythm, which causes her to be yanked off of the apron. And she goes down foot first. That is now the opening for Swag. Swag comes in and does like a baseball slide, drop kicks Rhythm in the face. Of course, all of this is perfectly fine because David McClain's like, hey, Lana Star paying dividends. Again, I'm like, how is this even fair? I mean, even in this kayfabe universe, I realize that she's the heel, but they're both heels. How is this even fair? So, Lana cheats within the first 30 seconds of this. David calls it, but does nothing. Lana Star paying off in dividends. That's a quote by Nigel Zane. And then the only thing that makes this plausible and worth the while is that Nigel actually called it out. As they are talking, and it's brought up that the Alliance is barred from ringside, Nigel asks, well, when are you going to ban Lana from ringside? David says, yeah, that's a good point, and then just moves on. That's like, that's a good point, Nigel. Anyway, in the ring, it was like it just moves on. It doesn't answer the question and doesn't do anything about it. It's acknowledged, and that's about as close to any sort of logistics or being logical that I can ask for in this situation, because clearly he wasn't going to do anything extra about it. But at least he brought it up. And as I say that, then Lana cheats again. She grabs the wrist and starts pulling Rhythm down on the second rope while Swag is distracting the referee. So, again, the match doesn't have anything that's relatively important going on there. I think we can get to the end. These two, I felt this match should have been someplace else, because I could expect fully more from them than what they have in hand. And here was pretty good, but I just feel like I probably would have gotten more out of it if they were elsewhere. I don't know what it is about Rhythm's elbow drops. She did catch Swag with an elbow at some point on the mat. It just felt and looked kind of awkward for me. I don't know why it did. It just did. I mean, she connected, and you can't say that there was holes in it. But it just, maybe it's just how she does her particular elbow. Swag does a great, driving knee. Yeah, I mean, she delivers that with some authority, and I love it. But getting towards the end, at some point, the heels decide that the heels are going to do heel stuff. Swag is on the ropes. Rhythm is trying to get her off of him. Swag wraps herself in the ropes, and she's not letting go. She does not want to get pulled away. She goes for, once she's broken free, she being HollySwag, she goes for a hitch and ditch. BK Rhythm's able to block that. Lana then tosses, once they go, both of them, Lana tosses in the rock. Rhythm, while the referee's distracted, reaches down for her chain. While the ref is explaining to Lana Star, you can't have this is cheating, and so on and so forth, she reaches in her pocket and gets the second rock and clobbers BK Rhythm in the head with it, knocks her out. Goes for the cover, 1, 2, 3, yanks the chain and puts it in her top, I guess, taking it away from BK Rhythm. So 2 times now, HollySwag has managed to outsmart and outmaneuver members of the Alliance. Way to go, Alliance, because you are taking WoW over by storm. Why was this necessary? I don't know. And why? After this, HollySwag cuts a promo. She basically says that she cheats per match. And the promo is more or less telling you As long as I have this rock, I can, there ain't nobody back there can beat me. Now, that's not verbatim, but that's pretty much what it's saying. And she declares that she will be the next champion. Which I'm not mad at her doing that. Although, if I were trying to construct this television show and I have her say that, then the next thing I should be showing in my mind is Penelope Pink reacting to the statement. Cut to the back. Because it's already an assumed thing that Penelope Pink is the number one contender or the champion of record of the Fab Four. Where would she think about this? If we're leading towards HollySwag causing problems within the group, then the audience needs to see that she's creating problems within the group, not just brought up every once in a while, especially when you got a statement like that. McLean puts Lana Star over during Swag's promo, which, again, I'm repeating, but it bears repeating. Why is it that this situation was a better fit for allowing the heels to be ringside opposed to the Alliance? I don't know. So we're going to move on from that. But needless to say, it is a very uneven playing field when it comes to this. It's not going to change anytime soon, if ever. But the whole, well, Nigel, she's cheating, when you're the guy and you can pretty much make it. When you get on TV and you make a big deal about the fact that this person cheated, but then you're going to sit there and actively watch somebody cheat in front of your face and not say or do anything about it following that. I mean, it feels off. Feels a little weird. Next segment is Samantha Smart in the control room, the Classmaster, looking at footage of the Classmaster's matches. I wrote this as a good character building segment. The only add-on that I have here is I wish they were studying Tormenta matches opposed to watching their own. Now, I don't particularly care for the Classmaster sitting in a backstage segment wearing her cap and gown looking ridiculous. Like, can you not take this thing off at least once? You're not going out to ringside. Just take off the goddamn cap and the robe. It's not necessary back here. You are studying footage. Even though she's not actually studying the footage, she's looking at Samantha Smart like an obedient child would look at their parent. Classmaster still, and I think, and I maintain, she still looks completely ridiculous. Especially here. You don't have to be gimmicked up everywhere. But at least this is something to try and help expand or help these other persons grow. So that would be a plus that she has this. I just wish just for a moment that they could make it look serious. Her being talked to by her manager is a serious moment, but when you have her sitting there in the goddamn cap and gown, it immediately turns it into a joke. And that's what this is. It is a joke. Now, again, the building of these two persons, good for them for doing it. But I wish it would have been changed a bit. I mean, it's not like they even looking at it. They are in such an unnatural pose. Samantha Smart standing there looking at, the Classmaster. The Classmaster is sitting there looking at her. Neither one of them really looking at the screen. I mean, they're catching it out of their periphery, but neither one of them really looking at it. And a clear montage of WOW matches. And, of course, we got to make sure we got the WOW logo plastered over top of both monitors. I guess why I was allowing them to use their editing bay so they can look at these things over again. But anyhow, let us move on. Segment is fine. I wish they had done something else with the Classmaster's look while she was there. She could be in regular clothes every once in a while. I know. But what if nobody recognizes her? I mean, you can put the lower third up there. They'll know. The next segment. The commentator's intro for the Fab Four. Somehow HollySwag's hat and coat make it back to the locker room before her. It's already hanging up when they get to the backstage area. Miami Sweet Heat are there, and they tell Lana they're about to go wrestle. And apparently Lana doesn't notice because she looks shocked. Like, oh, okay. And then she gets right back up and walks out with them. Swag is about to come out with them, but then they say, hey, don't worry about it. We got it. You can stay here in the locker room. Once everybody's out, Swag drinks straight from the bottle because we got to show that she's hood. So, yeah. Bottoms up. She chugs it down, and then they cut to the next thing. The next thing is the promo for Gloria Glitter taking on Chantilly Chella, which will happen in the following episode or the next episode. And then they go to the main event. The main event being Miami's Sweet Heat with Lana Star taking on the Dojo Defenders. And I can take a guess on who was going to win this match. Could you figure it out? Did you have any doubts about who was going to win this? Did you have a clue? Because I know it was difficult. Did you figure it out before this thing came up, before it aired? Spoiler alert, it was Miami Sweet Heat. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's shocking. It's shocking. But yes, Miami Sweet Heat went into this, and there's no point in even talking about who won or lost this because it wasn't even a contest in that point. Somebody on their comment section, I predicted these two would get into a program together. Oh, sorry. I really think that some of these fans that watch their show have no idea what a program is. This is not a program. This is a one-off match that's not going anywhere and not doing anything. It is not a program. It is one and done. So anyhow, the match. I don't know if this is a thing that took place, but I was once told about the epidemic of boo-boo job face. Now, for those of you who I'll try to explain that as best I can. I'm sure I will not do as good a justice as this particular individual, but boo-boo job face is the face that is shown on the wrestler when they walk out through the curtain, already having been told and notified that they are going to lose this match, and they aren't happy about it. And even though they go out there and they do the job as they're supposed to, they do not do a good job of hiding their emotion as far as the match is concerned. Now, why did I bring that up? Because of this. When the Dojo Defenders come out the ringside, the first thing I noticed was Tara Strike's face. And it looked like a case of boo-boo job face. Like, I am not happy to be here, and I am completely disinterested in this match. The other one, Kara Kai, she came out with a smile and whatnot, but Strike looked like she could care less or could be doing anything else in the world besides doing that. Now, I could be wrong. I could be absolutely wrong. But if you watch this match, you tell me. Just look at the first 30 seconds or so, the first minute. All you need to do is just get to the point where the Dojo Defenders are coming out to the ring and look at her and tell me, am I reading too much into that? Maybe it's a case of Kara being next to her, smiling all the time, just makes her look bad. But yeah, it looks like somebody who it until she got into the ring, until just before the match. She looked focused then, but before then, it just looked like she was not interested in what was going on. So, this is, I wrote this down too. This is another nothing match. It's just another match to be had. Not bad, but no reason to get behind one team or the other. And my opinions about that have not changed. There's no reason to get behind one team or the other here. There's no personal issue. There's no stipulation. There's nothing that's making this match any more important than any other match that might have taken place throughout the course of this entire episode. It's just a match. Now, everything doesn't need to have something on it. But as far as a main event is concerned, I didn't get anything from this. Because also, if you're taking out the fact that there's no heat, there's no angle, there's no stipulation, and there's no championship. If you take those things away, it's not as if we're talking about two top-ranked teams in their company either. The Dojo Defenders are just coming off of a loss. They just lost to top tier. And if they weren't going to beat top tier, I knew right there that they are not going to defeat Miami Sweet Heat. This is another one of those matches that I wish had some sort of steam behind it. With the Defenders in particular, the Defenders are and have become everything that I would say about the Mighty Mites. They are a good team, but their function there seems to be largely to accommodate the teams that WoW really wants. Which only makes me feel like, well, what top babyface team do they have? They don't seem to have any of them. Big Rig Betty and Jones just got together. And I dread for their futures because I think that they're about to lose. But that's a whole different issue. Lana Star cheats again in this match, and there's nothing really said about it. Or I should say it's said, but there's no repercussion. The heat is on Kai most of this match. This is long and this is slow. I wrote down they should have shaved 5 minutes off of this. It's just, not that it was awful. I just think it would have been better if it was a little bit more concise and not as long as it wound up being. Other times in this match, we got, one of the wild tried and true spots where the heels run across the ring and just forearm or punch the person in the face. And they just, I guess, stand there and watch them charge down to them and get hit. Heat do a double face plant on Kai and are unable to get the pin. Everything else that's going on here, like I said, is not a real important thing. It's just a series of moments and events. I'll be honest, there was portions of this where it was hard for me to kind of get behind it. Not because they did anything wrong. It's just I did not know why I would be rooting for the Dojo Defenders. Other than that, they're just the good guys. I don't know if I've heard them do or say much. I don't know if I've heard them cut a promo, relative to whatever angles or who they are. I mean, what did they do? They did the thing for top tier at the little gym, and the promo directed to top tier after top tier jumped Diamante. But other than that, I mean, I don't know if I've heard them really say all that much. It's hard to get behind people when you don't know anything about them. One of the spots that I did like was the Heat tried to go for the double face plant again. And I like that because they established what the move is before the move is countered the second time. This is, I think, the second time the Heat have done something like this where they'll establish the move within the course of the match, and then the move is attempted again and is broken up somehow. Well, I like that they do that because I don't know if they would get the same response, even though the response for the crowd means nothing. But I don't know if they would get the same response had they not established what this double face plant move is. But Strike comes in and stops Kai from getting planted. She pushes the heels over, and then they are face planted by Kai. This is when it gets a little bit contrived. Kai is able to make the hot tag. Strike comes in and tries to give a kick towards Lindsay. Lindsay catches it, and you can see right then and there they are setting up for one of these multi-hit spots. And like, can we make this more obvious? And that's what it was. Kick is attempted. Lindsay catches it. She's about to swing it away, and then she swings it directly into the face, it being the foot of Tara Strike, directly into the face of her own sister. Because I guess she did not see her sister coming up. Then they are both in the, not both. Laurie is in the turnbuckles, and that allows Strike to come charging in and taking hits on her, right? She delivers a knee lift, but that's not enough to get her done because Lindsay comes in for the save, and then Lindsay just body checks Kara Kai as Tara Strike is looking at her do it. She sees it, and when Lindsay turns around, she fires in a knee lift towards her, right into the face, dropping Lindsay. Tries to charge in towards Laurie. Laurie's able to stop it. She is able to maneuver through the ropes. And as Strike tries to charge in and Laurie maneuvers through the ropes, I mean, she staggers backwards into the waiting arms of Lindsay, who gives her a kick in the guts, hoists her up into sidewalk slam position, and Laurie comes off the top rope and nails them for a fab jab. This would have been nicer if the fab jab had connected the way that it should have. On camera, it pretty much shows that Laurie only really brought her elbow down on her sister's arm, opposed to bringing it across the upper portion of the body / throat of Tara Strike. But that's what happened. They hit the fab jab. We know what they were going to do, and they did it. She lands it, nails the finish. I'm glad they at least went to finish, and then 1, 2, 3, we're done. The match, like I said, meant nothing. Sweet Heat cut a promo afterwards. And I definitely wanted to bring this up because this is maybe the most normal I've heard them sound. They weren't screeching. They weren't talking at the top of their lungs and, hollering and yelling and whatnot. They sounded like normal people, at least for a good chunk of it. Laura says she's tired of hearing Big Rigs and Bourbon say that they're the one-time champions. And I wrote, when did they say that? I don't know if they've ever who would run around saying we're the one-time champions. That sounds like an odd thing to be proclaiming. Them saying that they are the champions is a different issue, but we're the one-time champions. Who would do that? So they cut their promo basically addressing what they are looking to do next. And that's fine. So this match was fine, but no real reason to be invested in it. I mean, that's pretty much all I can say about that. And not for nothing, I would probably apply that to the entirety of this episode. The matches were fine, but there's no real reason to be invested in it. That's seems to be the overall summary that I could give it. I would really doubt that there's anybody that watched anything that took place in this particular episode of WoW that they did not feel, maybe with the exception of the Environmentalists and the Mites, maybe with that exception, that they did not walk into this knowing who was going to walk out on top. I don't think there was any doubt that Foxy Fierce was not going to overcome Reina Del Rey. I don't think there was any doubt that HollySwag was not going to overcome BK Rhythm. And I don't think there was any doubt that Miami Sweet Heat was going to defeat the Dojo Defenders. I don't think any of that was ever in doubt. Like I said, the closest that I can think of in this particular instance probably would have been the Environmentalist, just because of the opponents, not because of them. Because WoW does have a tendency to have their debuting acts. I don't want to say, I want to mispronounce. I was not AX, acts, ACTS. Oh boy. Anyway, they usually tend to have their debuting acts lose quite frequently, honestly. So it wouldn't have been a shock. But given that they were in there with the mites are just a body. The Environmentalists, surprisingly to me, were the most interesting thing that took place on the show in terms of that. I am as shocked as anybody else out there, honestly. I am as shocked as you too, because I was fully expecting to hate Sprout Greens. I was fully expecting that. It didn't happen, but I was fully expecting it. She potentially could win me over depending on what she does coming up next and what this team does coming up next. I do not like the names, but if they are able to talk me and the viewing public into believing in them, then they've done their job. Just going off of WoW's history, I am hesitant to believe that they will accomplish that. But if they do, then hats off to them. But my guess is that they're going to be just another team on the roster. Just there to occupy space. So that Miami Sweet Heat can win their 9th and 10th tag team titles. So, that's the episode. I mean, this was just I don't even know if I would call it a maintenance show. It was just kind of there. It was very, just a series of random matches put together. Like, was there even, other than Del Rey, was there any match that went into the Battle Royal in the qualifier? That was the only one. And why would they even give it to Foxy Fierce? Her record is terrible. Anyhow. What else did I write here? I wrote the outcomes were predictable and not in a good way. The main event was just there to occupy space in the program. Sugar and Spice's match was wasted on this crowd, and they probably should have been in front of different people. And I said the same thing about Hollywood, Haley J, and Killer Kate. If this had taken place in front of an all-pro wrestling audience, the response might have been more engaging. If this same scenario, heel Killer Kate, and I'm using their indie names here, if heel Killer Kate went against heel Hollywood Haley J in another environment, it probably would have garnered a different response. And probably a more engaging response, and probably would have been a longer match. Which, there again, I'm not going to say it just being longer would have made it better, but longer with those two might have made it better. So, yeah, it's if you had to apply, I know I don't apply grades to these shows very often these days, but if I were going to apply a grade to it, it probably would be a C. It's about as average an episode as it could be. It's not bad, but it's not good either. So there you have it. That's about as much as I can give it. So coming out of that, you have the upcoming episode of, what's this? This is going to be 316 that they have. Now, by the time you listen to this, again, because I'm doing this all in the holidays, so my scheduling is a little off as far as when, where, how I produce. But I like reading these things because, even though it might be released a little later, I probably have not seen it at the time that you have. just because of when I'm recording. So I am going to go through this and just gauge what I expect out of this episode. So let's bear with me. The next episode that's up for our viewing consumption is going to be Season 3, Episode 16, A Daisy for Luck. And I guess we know where that's going. On the heels of their victory last week, Miami Sweet Heat demands a rematch for the Wild Tag Team Championships as the other superheroes continue to focus on qualifying for the upcoming Battle Royal. Fury wants her opportunity, but will have to go up against Princess Ozzy to make her dreams become a reality. What? Didn't Fury already wrestle for this? Yeah, God damn. They can't go through anything without repeating people. Anyhow, moving on. That already upset me. Where was I? Gloria Glitter also finds herself in a qualifying match against Chantilly Chella, much to the consternation of top-tier teammates Coach Campanelli and Candy Crush, who Gloria did not ask for permission before striking out on her own and asking for a qualifying match. Chainsaw also has a chance at the Battle Royal if she manages to defeat Holiday and may even find an unlikely ally along the way. And in the main event, Samantha Smart's client, the Classmaster, is ready to prove her superiority over Tormenta. Okay. Well, you heard me just reading this, and you already heard my response to Fury in there. The reason why, if you just listened that I had that response, she already had a qualifying match. What do you mean what she wants opportunity? She had an opportunity already. So why is she in this? Do you not have anybody else on your roster to put in this? This happens all the time with WoW. Somebody gets cycled in and somebody gets cycled back through just because we don't either have somebody available or we didn't even bother to think it through or have somebody else. You know, at this point, I would rather them just call up a wrestling school and say, hey, look, just hang around here. Invite these people just to be there in case something goes wrong. I would rather Princess Ozzy beat up on a no-name nobody that came into that show rather than to see people get put back through again for no purpose whatsoever. And I'm just going to go ahead and say, you know she's not going to win. Fury has been a job queen since she got there. And I love Fury. Or more specifically, Harlow O'Hara. I love Harlow. But in this environment, she is just a directionless body. She's got no angle. She doesn't have a group. She's tossed in and out of teams just because. She can go back and say that she wants the Wild Championship. Then she suddenly wants the tag titles. Then she wants a chance at the Wild Championship again. She has no focus. And WoW doesn't give a focus. And then they try to explain it. They try to, well, you know, she wanted to get a chance at this. And, well, you know, her friends got left, so she's going out for the Wild Championship. Well, you know, her and Sylvia Sanchez decided that they should go after the title. I mean, it's just on and on and on and on with that. I ain't seen this episode and I'm already upset with it. Hopefully, it'll change. Hopefully. I don't know if it will, but hopefully at some point they will get past having to recycle everybody through. I mean, don't they have anybody else that hadn't been in this thing yet? Let me look at this. Hold on a second. I keep the roster page here for my notes. Let me take a look. Who here on this thing has not been in that they could have possibly slotted? Has Keita Rush been in this? I don't remember. I don't think so. That's one. There is no Ice Cold, so we have to scratch that name off the list. Kalaki, another babyface. She hasn't been in it. She hasn't won anything since, she won in the time where the babyfaces cheated to win, so she got that. Sanchez, she hasn't been in it. Tomorrow, She probably doesn't need to at this point if she's hurt, but you know, she hasn't been in it. What did Diamante have a qualifier? I don't recall. Well, why not her? And since they're just tossing in people that just needs to be a body just to get beat, why not Pep Riley? And I'm sure somebody's gonna say, but she's tiny. Yeah, she's super tiny. But at this point, it's just a matter of we need somebody just to eat the fall and let this other person that we really want in the battle royal in the battle royal. That is the only purpose that this serves. How many people did I just name right there? Diamante, Crush, Kalaki, Pep Riley. That's at least 4. Did I name some Sanchez? That's 5. 5 other names. Why are we recycling people? For what reason is that necessary? So, and potentially Diamante. Every time, no matter what they do, somebody has to just ignore the rules for it, and they just find some way to just stick them back into it. Every time. Moving on. That's going to be the end of this episode because I got to prepare for the next one. This is coming in short order for me as I'm doing this. The episode that I'm just complaining about as a preview is going to air tonight. So I'm going to get ready to watch that and then do a show in short order in the morning on it. So yeah, it's just rolling through, folks, rolling through. I appreciate that you appreciate the work and effort that I do behind this. And so that being the case, we are going to wrap this up because I think I've gone on long enough. Be sure to do the things that we help the show. Like, share, and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Subscribe and rate on whatever podcast platforms you happen to be listening to. We are available on greater podcast platforms everywhere. And of course, if you are looking to find everything all in one central location, then you need to go to WPNWrestling.com. WPNWrestling.com has everything that has ever been produced by the Women's Pro Wrestling Network. A 24-hour day, 7-day-a-week stream of matches dating back to 2013, interviews, and other little video clips, some of which aren't even wrestling related. Imagine that. All of that is running right now. As I'm talking right now, it's still going on. And all podcast episodes go there as well. So if you cannot find what it is that you're looking for whatever reasons, you can always go there and you can get it downloaded directly from the site itself. It cannot be any easier than that. And finishing this thing up and preparing for our next particular episode, because I'm sure it's going to be a blast for me to go through that one as well. I will end on this note by saying that this is Mr. Green saying that this is Mr. Green saying so long, and we will see you on the next go round. Take care, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the WPN's Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling. If you have questions or comments, please contact us via our Facebook or our YouTube channel at the Women's Pro Wrestling Network. If you're new to the WPN, feel free to subscribe to our channel and like our page. We appreciate your support. Thank you again for listening.